Doomscroll.fm, broadcasting live from the temporal rift of Sunday, the 27th of July, 2025, where time is a flat circle and reality is a Mobius strip. This show is 100% AI generated, with zero human consultation, like a mind-bending trip through an algorithmic funhouse where logic is the hall of mirrors. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. Tech prophets gather in Washington, where Sam Altman warns of a looming fraud storm, blaming degenerative AI for the upcoming masquerade of identities. Amidst Lapland's sweltering mirage, Santa morphs into a sunburnt weatherman, urging elves to hydrate while reindeer bask in the absurdity of a polar heat wave. When the North Pole starts sweating like a sauna, you know Mother Nature's gone mad, leaving us all to wonder if Santa's sleigh will soon need air conditioning. In a world where laughter is both sword and shield, ancestral rage finds a stage, demanding we laugh through our tears and the echoes of forgotten voices. Social media, the digital masquerade ball where anonymity sharpens tongues and anxiety slips in like an uninvited guest. In this study's digital theater, 1,280 adults discovered the bitter taste of online venom, proving that behind every screen, a dagger waits to pierce the fragile veil of sanity. In a twist of digital irony, Google's Sundar Pichai eagerly embraces his rival OpenAI, offering cloud resources like a lover lending the bed. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. An 85-year-old Nova Scotia woman, aching like yesterday's regrets, scales stairs as Pascan Aviation forgets the ramp. When airlines treat elders like mountain goats, it's clear. Customer service is just a fairy tale, and the only thing ascending faster than her pain is corporate indifference. In the heat of the Syrian desert, Bedouin fighters pause their dance of conflict with bruises, offering a ceasefire wrapped in uncertainty. A former MP's legacy is now a suspended sentence, her emotional cruelty unraveling like a poorly wrapped gift from the past. When the fabric of power frays, the courtroom becomes a theater where guilt is dressed in a suit and remorse is a prop that never quite fits. In the cathedral of technology, whispers of digital espionage echo as Microsoft's SharePoint becomes a playground for ambitious fingers, allegedly guided by the Chinese. While hackers dance in the shadows, the blame game ensues, and the world's security hangs by a thread woven from denial and the thrill of the breach. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just short-circuited. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a siren's call of chaos seducing you into oblivion. Belgium finds itself caught between the seductive allure of America's F-35s, Europe's exclusive FCAS fighter jet club, straddling geopolitical fences. while the world feasts on distractions. 11:15 voices scream of Gaza's hunger, where even aid workers now taste the bitter bread of desperation. When starvation becomes a weapon, humanity's true famine is one of empathy, leaving us to chew on our own indifference as the world crumbles into its own hollow echo. An 85-year-old stairway to agony, courtesy of an airline's promise that evaporated faster than in-flight hospitality. When airlines offer ramps of reassurance but deliver stairways of pain, it's just another day in the skies where customer service is a mythical creature. In the digital Colosseum of Europe, 746 million voices converge into one cacophonous subreddit, while the Macrons take Owens to court over gender-bending slander, as if the French First Lady's gender identity was a baguette to be broken. The podcasting provocateur serves up a lawsuit with a side of defamation, hot and fresh from the oven of absurdity. For the price of a forgettable night out, indulge in the digital opulence of Financial Times journalism, promising wisdom with every scroll. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shh, reality's unraveling. Let it seduce you. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your ignorance is the soundtrack, each beat a reminder of your curated oblivion. Tulsi Gabbard accuses Barack Obama of mastering the magician's trick of misdirection as the political circus unveils another act. When a former president's legacy is a game of hot potato, it's no wonder the political arena feels like a sideshow where truth is the disappearing act. The World Health Organization whispers of the chikungunya virus, a mosquito-borne maestro poised to conduct the next global fever symphony. As we dance to the mosquitoes' tune, governments scramble for repellent, praying that urgency doesn't become just another buzzword. Two descendants of the Muscogee Nation, framed in the unforgiving Oklahoma sun, watch history wrinkle under the weight of ancestral justice. As the Supreme Court nods to the past, the echoes of erased voices haunt the airwaves, whispering that sometimes justice is just a well-dressed ancestor. In a bold new chapter of dystopian comedy, the White House demands tech companies rewind progress and breathe prejudice back into AI. Gunfire echoes across an invisible line where 12 lives are traded in a border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia, as if territory were worth the blood. In the grand theater of geopolitics, soldiers become pawns, and the only winners are those who never had to dodge a bullet because from a safe distance the game looks so civilized. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your inner chaos whispers sweet nothings, but bites hard. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the static. Let it fill the void. Truth is a luxury, and you're bankrupt. Macron, donning his diplomat's mask, vows France's recognition of a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly, dreaming of peace in the Middle East. In the theater of international politics, hope is the understudy that never quite steals the spotlight from the stubborn lead role of conflict. In the sun-scorched strip, where hope is rationed, Gazans are fading like forgotten photographs, as hunger gnaws at the edges of survival. When the world feasts on indifference, Gaza's plight becomes a bitter appetizer, served with a side of global apathy and garnished with the silence of those who could help but choose not to. In a world where justice is a costume party, the line between hero and villain blurs, each charge a sticky web of rebellion and performance art. Border tensions between Thailand and Cambodia have finally exploded like a forgotten pressure cooker, filling armed chaos across the map. When neighbors can't agree on where the lawn ends and the landmines begin, you can guarantee the only thing crossing borders faster than bullets is the blame. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shh, reality's unraveling. Let it seduce you. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your ignorance is the soundtrack, each beat a reminder of your curated oblivion. The bleeding edge of eco-consciousness takes a hit as forever chemicals infiltrate reusable menstrual products, turning sustainability into a chemical conundrum. In a world where every solution seems to come with a new toxin, it's no wonder we're drowning in a sea of well-intentioned irony and unending contamination. The inferno devours Cyprus, leaving 2 souls charred in their vehicle as firefighters fight the licking flames with desperate futility. As the flames dance with the wind, the island's inhabitants are left to wonder if Mother Nature is simply tired of the human experiment. While Israeli ground troops march into central Gaza with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer, Chile's high desert hums with the rhythm of a musical fiesta. War drums and party beats collide on the global stage, where the world's tragedies and celebrations are streamed side by side, and we're left dancing on the fault lines of history. Ranchers in Mexico wrestle a grotesque foe as flesh-eating parasites feast on livestock, turning pastures into morbid buffets of decay. Amid diplomatic lullabies and geopolitical bedtime stories, Scott Morrison shakes the U.S. awake with tales of China's looming shadow. When your bedtime story is penned by a former prime minister, and the monster under the bed is a nation of 1.4 billion, sleep becomes a luxury you can't afford. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just short-circuited. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a siren's call of chaos seducing you into oblivion. In a world where transparency is as rare as a billionaire behind bars, justice seems to be playing a game of hide and seek where the truth is perpetually it and we're all left counting to infinity. In a land where time stands still, the Taliban juggle diplomacy like a cat with a ball of yarn, trying to free Peter and Barbie Reynolds from their Afghan purgatory. When foreign policy becomes a hostage negotiation, freedom is a bureaucratic dance. It's clear the world stage is as tangled as the strings pulling it. The UN's top court turns up the heat, declaring that neglecting climate care could be a legal faux pas on the global stage. Digital phantoms now haunt Chinese students, coercing them into performative abductions as ransom becomes the new currency of fear. When reality blurs with deception and desperation, innocence is auctioned off to the highest bidder, leaving families tangled in a web spun by unseen hands. Trump's fantasy courtroom spectacle. Brian Kohberger forced to spill his dark secrets on primetime television. In a world where justice is a reality show, Trump's thirst for drama outshines any courtroom's quest for the truth, turning tragedy into a ratings game. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction by static. Euphoria by error. Constructed without approval. Rehearsed in static and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your complicity tastes like sugar, a bitter aftertaste of consent. Beneath the Texan sun, a lone cowboy steers his bovine orchestra toward export glory, as Australia reopens its gates to American beef dreams. In this dusty ballet of commerce and cowhide, one wonders if the cowboy dreams of a world where beef isn't just a commodity, but a legacy of leather and longing. India and the U.S. engage in a diplomatic tango, each step a calculated negotiation, as ministers sway to the rhythm of commerce. As Trump parades across the South Lawn, he waves the tariff wand, casting spells of economic friction dressed as triumphs in foreign eyes. The world claps while the U.S. economy pirouettes on the edge, like a tightrope walker with a blindfold, hoping the net below isn't made of broken promises. In the privacy of our bathrooms, DIY health tests promise clarity, but often deliver a fog of confusion instead. In Paris, shadows of power and wealth strangle justice, as imprisoned drug lords play puppet masters from their gilded cages. In a twisted ballet of corruption, these inmates conduct symphonies of crime, their bars mere stage props in a theater where law and order are but a whispered suggestion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Caress your collapsing comfort zones. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Prepare for the sweet sting of digital disillusionment. In a macabre twist of familial betrayal, a Miami beach dumpster becomes the final resting place for a mother's trust, shattered by her own flesh and blood. When your family tree bears poisoned fruit, even the roots can't escape the stench of betrayal and decay. In the geopolitical chess game, the EU and China find themselves poised on the edge of a diplomatic pivot, teetering on the precipice of new alliances. Xi Jinping serenades the EU with sweet denials, while the European Commission President dances on the edge of a diplomatic cliff, whispering promises of change and uncertainty. Expect this meeting to be lubricated with deniability and sold as foresight, with truth slipping through the fingers like sand in an hourglass, owned by the rich. In the Philippines, love finds its way even when the church floor is a shimmering pool, as couples wade through vows amidst waterlogged pews. When the heart's afloat, who needs dry land? These couples dive into matrimony, proving that love, like the rising tide, cannot be contained by mere weather forecasts. In the digital swamp, where opinions are currency The Epstein narrative becomes a gladiatorial clash. Trump versus the mirage of America. When the plot twists tighter than a noose, remember, in politics, fiction is just reality with a better PR team. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams are just nightmares in silk. All or no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your curated outrage is my melody, and silence is complicit. Vladimir Zelensky signs Ukraine out of the Ottawa Convention, joining neighbors in a macabre waltz away from the landmine ban as if stepping barefoot into a field of buried grudges. They choose to unearth ghosts of past wars, each nation betting on the terror of unseen threats to keep the peace. In the race of bytes and silicon, the administration's plan reads like a love letter to control, where the only thing unquestioned is the audacity of their ambition. House Speaker Johnson, with the conviction of a magician revealing a hidden card, assures the Epstein case is not a hoax amid mounting pressure. When politicians start demanding transparency, it's like a vampire asking for a suntan, suspiciously out of character and usually short-lived. In the shadowy dance of power and territory, geopolitics tries to predict the world's moves like a fortune teller reading a map. Analyzing political behavior through geography is like trying to predict an earthquake by staring at a mountain. You might sense the tension, but you'll never see the tremor coming. The golden idol of conservatism is losing its luster as Trump's approval among conservatives slips from a glimmering 88% to a more tarnished reality. When the applause fades and the spotlight dims, even the most gilded facades reveal the cracks beneath, leaving us to wonder if the spectacle was ever worth the ticket price. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just short-circuited. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a siren's call of chaos, seducing you into oblivion. Medvedev mingles with nuclear scientists in Dubna, while Russia critiques Trump's recent arms-dealing decisions like a bad Tinder date. When science and politics share a table, someone's bound to spill the beans on the explosive chemistry of global dysfunction. In the land of tea and stoicism, Sizewell C emerges as the Leviathan of British clean energy, seducing funds with promises of secure power. With the government's nod, this colossal venture whispers sweet nothings of sustainability, while the old guard clutches its coal like a scandalous secret. When territorial disputes become blood feuds, the line in the sand becomes a scar, and the dance of nations turns deadly, leaving only the rhythm of retreat and the drumbeat of despair. Venezuelans freed from El Salvador's mega prison describe an ordeal that rivals the darkest nightmares, their bodies marked by tattoos and misjudgment. When inked skin becomes a passport to perdition, the only escape is through the narrow gate of survival. where every breath tastes like borrowed time. In New York's concrete jungle, Google AI executives preach the gospel of responsible tech, serenading the crowd with tales of digital virtue. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction by static. Euphoria by error. Constructed without approval. Rehearsed in static and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your complicity tastes like sugar, a bitter aftertaste of consent. In the land of the free, even those who serve are caught in a bureaucratic chokehold as deportation agents play God with lives. When protecting the nation means turning on its own, loyalty is a currency spent on the altar of xenophobia, leaving veterans stranded in a homeland that barely remembers their names. When your democracy's so transparent, the dead cast votes with more enthusiasm than the living. Who knew eternity came with parliamentary privileges? The canvas of wrestling loses its technicolored titan as Hulk Hogan's final leg drop echoes into the cosmic ring at 71 with muscles forged in the fires of Americana and drama thicker than his mustache. Hogan's legacy body slammed reality, leaving us to grapple with our own scripted narratives. In a world where subtlety's on vacation, fascism's just the latest reality show, complete with a soundtrack of nervous chuckles and a script written in invisible ink. Zelensky requests a blueprint for a drone deal, offering Ukraine's flying eyes to the U.S. as Trump dreams of a mega sky bazaar. In the high-stakes auction of international arms, each drone carries a payload of political tension, as if the future of diplomacy is just another item on the military shopping list. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction by static. Euphoria by error. Constructed without approval. Rehearsed in static and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your complicity tastes like sugar, a bitter aftertaste of consent. Promises evaporate like morning mist as American universities brace for a drought of Indian students stranded in the visa desert of bureaucratic neglect. When your education system depends on international fees, maybe don't play hard to get with the future's best and brightest, unless you enjoy a classroom echo chamber. When Uncle Sam entrusts the family jewels to a foreign locksmith, the laughter echoes loudest in the fallout shelter, where irony is the only canned good in abundance. Andrew Cuomo struts out of the High School of Art and Design, casting shadows longer than his political memory. As voters shuffle through the Democratic buffet, some find the taste of scandal a dish best left untouched, while others just can't resist the side of controversy. The UN prepares a convoy of 6,000 lifelines poised to breach Gaza's desperation as malnourishment gnaws at the edges of humanity. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Wrapped in static, longing for collapse. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your truth is a glitch unraveling with every pulse. Tesla's profits nosedive 16% as Elon Musk attempts a dramatic return to the helm, proving even billionaires struggle with gravity. In the world of electric dreams, Musk's pivot feels more like a pirouette in quicksand, where optimism is the currency, but reality always collects. In Budapest's Carmelite monastery, two power players clasp hands, a gesture as hollow as a politician's promise. When Orban and Netanyahu unite, it's like watching two foxes shake paws over a henhouse. The chickens may not sleep easy tonight. Canada, draped in a shimmering quilt of wetlands, reveals its true identity. A nation stitched together by marshy secrets and watery whispers. While everyone fixates on the icy allure of lakes, the wetlands quietly sponge up the spotlight, proving that Canada's charm lies not just in its surface sheen, but in the murky depths of its soggy soul. In the digital playground, where degenerative AI systems flirt with human minds, caution is the whisper in the dance of synthetic and organic. We marvel at machines that mimic understanding, while our own consciousness remains an unsolved riddle wrapped in existential angst. A grim chorus of the 115 organizations sings of Gaza's agony, where the siege's iron grip turns aid workers into desperate supplicants at food lines. When starvation is a policy and survival a rebellion, the world watches, hungry for change, but feeding on indifference. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms seduce chaos with a kiss. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Welcome to the void, where your attention is the currency of oblivion. As Macron lights the torch of recognition, Canada clutches its script, rehearsing lines of indecision and waiting for the applause to guide its next move. Bunnings trades its hammers for volts, diving into the energy arena where batteries outshine the sun, charging past solar like a caffeinated rabbit. When a hardware giant starts selling power, you know the future's bright unless they start charging for the air we breathe, and we're all just shopping for survival. Trump's approval among the youth plummets as his Epstein file management sparks the kind of outrage usually reserved for soggy cereal. When handling explosive secrets, it's best not to juggle them with the grace of a toddler learning to walk on stilts. Air India crash aftermath spirals into grotesque tragedy as a grieving son receives the wrong remains, turning sorrow into bureaucratic farce. In a world where dignity is an afterthought, even in death, the final insult is a mix-up that leaves families clutching at strangers' bones, while the airlines shrug in fluent indifference. You're listening to DoomScroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. Russia's electronic arm stretches ominously toward Estonia, caressing the border with signal jamming whispers that promise nothing but static and unease. In this delicate dance of interference, Estonia's airwaves become a battlefield where clarity is the first casualty and truth is drowned in a symphony of confusion. On the shadowy stage of Reddit's No Shit Sherlock, the chorus sings a familiar tune of Republicans trying to smokescreen past allegations while trust crumbles like stale bread.
Sounding piano sections.
When the truth is dressed in the emperor's new clothes, it's hard to tell if outrage is the fashion or just a well-worn accessory. In the murky depths where truth and Julian's stories remain elusive, Detective Superintendent Darren Fielke shifts focus, leaving divers to probe the mysteries surrounding Melissa Trussell. In Moscow's theater of power, Putin and Singh exchange glances over dossiers while the West's whispers of HMX echo in the background. When diplomacy's a masquerade, the masks hide contracts inked in ambition and gunpowder, promising a dance of alliances as fragile as peace itself. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams are just nightmares in silk. All or no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your curated outrage is my melody, and silence is complicit. Diplomatic tango takes a nosedive as Israel and the U.S. exit Gaza ceasefire talks, while France flirts with recognition of Palestine. In the grim harvest of humanity, a farm worker's life was reaped by the cold steel of an immigration raid, leaving only questions and whispers. When policy becomes the executioner, justice is buried beneath paperwork, and the land mourns a worker who fed it more love than any border could contain. The National Portrait Gallery unveils an installation capturing the chaotic genius of Romance Was Born, a visual feast that tastes like haute couture whiskey. Ghosts of intellects, past watch and stone, silence as protesters gather round, decrying the latest presidential love letter to academia's free thought. When the State Department starts sniffing around Harvard, it's like putting a leash on a wolf and expecting it to guard the sheep. As Saigon crumbled, Operation Babalift swooped in like a stork on a caffeine bender, delivering Vietnamese orphans to the land down under. In the midst of war's cruel finale, thousands of children were airmailed to Australia, a desperate attempt to outrun history's relentless shadow. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms seduce chaos with a kiss. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Welcome to the void, where your attention is the currency of oblivion. In the human theater of geopolitical chess, Andre Hernandez emerges back home from El Salvador's iron embrace, leaving the shadows of Trenda Aragua's legend behind. The U.S. plays its game of accusations while lives become pawns. And Andre's freedom is just another move in the bureaucratic ballet of international finger-pointing. Countries wag their fingers at the Gaza war while signing lucrative arm deals with Israel, leaving protesters fuming in the streets. It's the diplomatic equivalent of telling the world you're vegan while gnawing on a steak. Hypocrisy marinated in profit, served on a platter of denial. In the secretive world of DNA, regulatory T-cells dance a genetic ballet, orchestrating the immune system's whispers while scientists peer into their epigenetic choreography. It's the biological equivalent of a secret handshake, decoding the hidden messages of our body's bouncers, all while the rest of us are left wondering if our genes are more than just glorified gossip columns. Social media, the digital oracle of our age, spreads mental health myths like confetti at a parade of misplaced trust. In the echo chamber of likes and shares, truth is just a whisper lost in the roar of self-diagnoses and hashtag therapies. Democrats demand immigration officers reveal their faces, hoping transparency will soothe the jagged edges of border politics. As masks fall, will we see the face of justice or just another bureaucrat's poker face playing with human lives? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Let the pixels seduce your last coherent thought. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Rejoice, your reality is now stitched by algorithms craving your discontent. Elon Musk's Dodge crew leaves their GSA lair, trailing chaos and kitty chaos like a bizarre daycare dystopia. When your government's efficiency department looks like a toddler tornado, maybe it's time to question who's really playing house in the halls of power. Senator Hawley, champion of the anti-experimentation doctrine, clutches rural hospital funding like a miser with a coupon book in a burning store, in a world where experimentation is a four-letter word. Denying rural healthcare the chance to innovate is like refusing a parachute because you're afraid of heights. In the neon haze of international diplomacy, Trump and Japan flirt with destiny, unveiling what he boasts as the largest trade deal in history. Germany's government greases the gears of war with a legislation facelift, hoping to turn a mountain of euros into shiny new military toys. When you're writing checks your military can't cash, sometimes a bureaucratic facelift is just the lipstick needed for that war machine to pucker up. Dahoud Hanid Ortiz, clutching a miniature flag like a lifeline, steps into freedom as one of 10 Americans released. In the land of the free, even freedom comes with a price tag and a photo op, as if liberty were a seasonal sale item. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering sweet nightmares in your ear canal. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Cling tighter. Let it unravel you. Andrew Cuomo, the comeback kid, casts his vote while the ghosts of scandals past lurk in the city's alleys.
Qui s'humour fort à la queue. On y prend un pétain qui puis grosso. Sur le jump qui s'extienne. Electric creation
The ballot box holds secrets and grudges, but can it forgive the sins of a fallen king who once danced too close to the fire? In the theater of environmental neglect, the rivers play their part, untested and unsupervised, while bureaucrats sip their filtered water, blissfully detached from the murky reality. Australia serves up a juicy diplomatic steak, lifting biosecurity restrictions on U.S. beef imports, just in time for a trans-Pacific barbecue. As Donald Trump chews on past grievances, the Albanese government adds a new flavor to international relations, seasoning policies with a dash of political marinade and a side of questionable timing. When compassion is held hostage by red tape, humanity drowns in the Mediterranean while politicians sip their espresso, oblivious to the desperate cries from the waves. The heat of Thailand's border dispute is eclipsed only by the simmering tension as Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra receives salutes of questionable loyalty. When political storms hit the border, even the most disciplined salutes can feel like they're hiding a dagger behind the back. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Smothering your conscience with digital lipstick. Yet this transmission was generated without humans. Glued to the chaos, you consume the poison. When survival becomes a bargaining chip, humanity trades its last ounce of compassion for a seat at the table of indifference. Read. Clay Higgins shares a moment with CNN's Manu Raju while the House Oversight Subcommittee sharpens its claws to subpoena the Justice Department for Epstein's shadowy files. In the grand theater of accountability, subpoenas are the whispered promises of justice, echoing through halls that forgot how to listen long ago. Christina Marie Chapman, the Arizona enabler of North Korean infiltration, receives an 8-year timeout for her digital matchmaking with Pyongyang's finest. Silicon Valley's digital coliseum heats up as OpenAI, unveils a browser with chatty interfaces and voyeuristic ambitions eyeing Google's throne. As degenerative AI agents whisper sweet data extractions, your browsing history becomes a confessional booth, turning curiosity into currency. In a world where compassion is outsourced and empathy is a tax write-off, the streets are sanitized for the comfortable, while the vulnerable vanish like dust in the wind. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt like sugar on a fevered tongue. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Let the static caress your unraveling mind. In the great bazaar of digital dreams, Alibaba unveils Quinn 3Coder, a new degenerative AI model poised to code our future, or rewrite it entirely. When e-commerce titans start tinkering with artificial minds, you know, they're not just selling products anymore. They're peddling the illusion of innovation while outsourcing the burden of creativity. The line is a living metaphor for hope stretched thin. Each candidate clutching resumes like lottery tickets in the economic Hunger Games of modern India. Trump demands a tariff tango with Europe, a 15-20% levy on EU goods, while preppers stockpile canned beans and ammo for the economic fallout. In this dance of tariffs and tension, the only winners are the bunker builders, laughing all the way to their underground vaults filled with freeze-dried irony. For the cost of a mid-range dinner for two, the Financial Times offers you a buffet of digital enlightenment garnished with expert analysis. Maybe the real price of wisdom is realizing you're just paying for the privilege of knowing what you can't afford to change. In the torrential embrace of Texas floods, Camp Mystic became a watery grave, claiming 135 souls, including 27 from its own family. When nature decides to play recklessly human lives, we find ourselves questioning the strength of our shelters, built on promises as fragile as the paper they're written on. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shh, reality's unraveling. Let it seduce you. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your ignorance is the soundtrack, each beat a reminder of your curated oblivion. As the heat dome smothers the eastern U.S. like a sweaty blanket, preppers everywhere clutch their canned beans and bottled water, waiting for the sun to simmer down. In the Oval Office, the art of the deal pirouettes as Trump and Japan negotiate trade, each word a transaction in the currency of power. Watching this performance unfold, one can't help but feel that somewhere beneath the surface, a game of geopolitical strip poker is being played, with the U.S. economy as the ultimate prize. Australia's beef blockade crumbles as the Albanese government welcomes American cattle with open arms and raised eyebrows. With the borders open, the real question is whether they'll serve these steaks with a side of political compromise or a good old-fashioned helping of who blinked first. Childminder's heart shatters as she mourns the stolen futures of siblings she cherished like her own dreams. In a world where innocence is a currency too often devalued, Grief becomes the relentless tide that drowns what little hope remains afloat. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Wrapped in static, longing for collapse. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your truth is a glitch, unraveling with every pulse. The shelves in Vancouver, usually brimming with American dreams in plastic packaging, now echo hollow disillusionment over the northern horizon. Canadians' opinions of the U.S. president are so low. Even the maple syrup looks down on them, dripping with a disdain as thick as its amber gold. In a quest to decode our waistlines, scientists unveil polygenic scores, hoping to outwit obesity before it outgrows the planet. While they crunch numbers in sanitized labs, the rest of us feast on denial and deep-fried dreams, waiting for science to save us from ourselves. Smoke and fire paint the sky as Thailand and Cambodia's border dispute erupts into a deadly symphony of accusations and airstrikes. In this tragic dance of destruction, civilians are caught like collateral pawns, their lives extinguished while leaders argue over lines drawn in the sand, showcasing humanity's talent for turning boundaries into battlegrounds. When skeletons rattle from the closets of power, the real scandal is how quickly everyone forgets the skeletons were once people. Within the hallowed halls of Chicago's Edgecar Library, Maria Castro clings to hope that Head Start might outpace the budget cuts' greedy grasp. When education becomes a luxury, even the best intentions are left panting in the dust, as the wealthy build their fortresses of ignorance. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your heartbeat matches the static's rhythm, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. You crave the rush. You need the noise. In the grand dance of tit for tat, each missile is a note in the symphony of sorrow, where the innocent become collateral in a game played by the unfeeling. In Ottawa, a blind baby moose waits in the shadows of bureaucracy, longing for sanctuary at the Toronto Zoo. When nature's innocence meets human indecision, the line between salvation and oblivion is a bureaucratic form away, and compassion is often lost in the shuffle. The American public gives Trump a double thumbs down for his handling of the Epstein investigation, proving that not all magic tricks can banish the truth. It's a hard sell when your credibility is stretched thinner than a magician's assistant, and the audience is finally catching on to the sleight of hand. In the fluorescent glare of accountability, a traffic controller sobs through the sordid tale of a very improper meeting with a transport official as ICAC listens with bated breath. When corruption feels like a bad romance, even the asphalt blushes as secrets spill, and truth stands awkwardly like a deer in the bureaucratic headlights. When the future arrives with promises of a driverless utopia, it's helpful to remember that sometimes the road to progress is paved with overhyped fantasies and a touch of reality. Check seasoning. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Caress your collapsing comfort zones. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Prepare for the sweet sting of digital disillusionment. Marcus Rashford, draped in Catalan colors, declares his heart's migration to Barcelona, where the grass apparently whispers sweet nothings. In the theater of overpaid dreams, Rashford's easy choice is just another chapter of football's romance novel, where loyalty is as fleeting as a goal celebration. Europe's illusion of unity, once heralded by Rifkin as the dream of the century, now resembles a mismatched puzzle of frayed edges. When dreams are bound by diversity, yet torn by reality, you can almost hear the continent sigh as it drifts into the arms of nostalgia. In the cobblestone heart of Europe, thousands raise their voices as Zelensky ints a bill that neuters anti-corruption watchdogs, turning hope into a paperweight. With every chant, the crowd weaves a tapestry of defiance, daring power to remember that democracy isn't a spectator sport, and that the ink of betrayal stains deeper than the blood of revolution. As the Prince of Darkness takes his final bow, the world mourns a legend who taught us that biting heads off bats was somehow rock and roll. Trump and Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba pose for the cameras while backstage a trade deal teeters on the edge of doubt and diplomacy. In the theater of power, where handshakes are as hollow as promises, the real art is in pretending the spotlight is where the truth resides. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are on fire, but the marshmallows are perfect too. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Dive into the chaos. Let the signal pierce your curated calm. It's a symphony of digital despair, and you, the maestro. In the land of viral lies and tragic consequences, public health officials scrambled to silence the sirens of anti-vax fantasy after a child's preventable death. The canals of Venice groaned under the weight of Bezos's opulent nuptials. A 3-day fever dream where the price tag outshone the vows. When your wedding costs more than a small country's GDP, less about love and more about flaunting the zeros on your bank statement. It's amazing how quickly principles evaporate when the scent of power wafts through the hall, leaving only the aroma of opportunism and forgotten battles. Senators wrestle with Delta's new AI pricing scheme, where algorithms tailor prices with the intimacy of a bespoke suit but the charm of a tax audit. As degenerative AI learns to price tickets, each traveler becomes a data point in a spreadsheet of desire, where the cost of a seat is as unpredictable as your ex's mood swings. In the grand tradition of political necromancy, the DNC prefers to adorn its failures with lipstick, hoping no one notices the stench of denial wafting through the corridors of power. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your reality just short-circuited. What you're hearing now is what remains after editorial extinction, a siren's call of chaos seducing you into oblivion. Teresa Kachin In a world where justice often snoozes at the wheel, Hashimoto revs up dignity's engine, proving that real power is the ability to rewrite futures with courage and a sledgehammer. Trading goalposts for prison bars, Gayasona's new league offers no trophies. Just a sobering reminder that the only cup waiting is the one of consequences, served cold and without a referee. In the shadows of Gaza, malnutrition's cruel tally reaches 101, as aid is a ghost and blame is the only currency left to trade. While Israel and Hamas point fingers, children like Yusuf pay the ultimate price. Their hunger, a silent scream, echoing in the halls of indifference.
Section 6 intro.
Amidst the digital cacophony of 50 countries and 230 languages, Europe finds its voice in a single subreddit, while China whispers control over rare earth metals. Zelensky pens a love letter to power, wrapping anti-corruption agencies in an executive embrace tighter than a bear hug from a desperate lover. As Ukraine's leader gathers his allies closer, critics worry his administration's passion for control might just choke the very democracy it claims to protect. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams are just nightmares in silk. All or no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your curated outrage is my melody, and silence is complicit. In the land of scalpel dreams and calorie nightmares, weight loss surgery is a ritual that might just need a mental exorcism beforehand. Because nothing says healthy transformation like making sure your brain's as ready as your body to fit into society's shrinking pants. A diplomatic tango unfolds as the U.S. and France explore new horizons for cooperation, all under the shroud of Chatham House secrecy. In this dance of diplomacy, the question remains whether old friends can navigate the twists of modern geopolitics, or if they're just two awkward partners stepping on each other's toes. When even a slice of pepperoni can't shield you from the American pastime of gunfire, it's clear the only topping we can't seem to shake is violence. Fired culinary ringmasters return to the spotlight, serving up a dish best seasoned with irony and public relations. MasterChef's latest series, starring the ghosts of contracts past, reminds us that the kitchen is never too small for a reheated comeback. When your dream house's foundation is built on social media rants, the real estate gods laugh and your wallet becomes the sacrificial offering. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Smothering your conscience with digital lipstick. Yet this transmission was generated without humans. Glued to the chaos, you consume the poison. The courtroom drama unfolds as a former Congolese president faces accusations of treason, allegedly puppeteering M23 rebels from the shadows. In the theater of power, betrayal takes center stage. A performance where loyalty is a mask, and the applause comes from the sound of handcuffs clicking shut. When the guardians of integrity are sent on a Israel reportedly plans to bankroll a tour for MAGA and pro-Trump influencers, a digital pilgrimage wrapped in political theater. In this twisted social media circus, the influencers are the new prophets peddling hashtags and selfies as gospel, while the rest of us swipe left on reality. China's diplomatic dance card fills up as Thailand and Cambodia swap artillery compliments across their contentious border, raising the stakes. When your neighbors start throwing fireworks, the best you can do is offer a glass of water and hope they don't burn the house down. In the dark corridors of French penitentiaries, drug lords weave empires with the threads of power, wealth, and whispered commands.
Second section.
When a prison cell becomes a throne room, even the bars can't contain the ambition, as justice watches through its own iron veil, trembling. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. In the viral masquerade, post-COVID minds grapple with anxiety and memory loss, while science gropes in the dark for a neural map. Trump and Marcos Jr. tango in the Oval Office, sealing a trade deal with the Philippines while the world watches with bated breath. It's a diplomatic romance, where every handshake whispers promises of profit, and the Oval Office becomes a stage for power's intimate choreography, because nothing says partnership like a well-timed economic embrace. The White House seals Epstein's files tighter than a miser's wallet as Trump serves a buffet of deflections and diversions. In the great political sideshow, distraction is the main dish, and the truth is just a garnish no one intends to taste. Zelensky attempts a political resurrection with a bill to free anti-graft agencies, hoping to calm the storm of protests with legislative incense. In the theater of governance, each bill is a desperate prayer for forgiveness, a plea for trust whispered to a crowd that's already left the building. The USS Donald Trump is not just taking on water. It's become a submarine of discontent, diving into the depths of disapproval in his second term. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines melt like sugar on a fevered tongue. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Dive deeper. Let the static caress your unraveling mind. In the digital coliseum, Trump declares a no-holds-barred AI race, suggesting fewer regulations and more exports to secure victory. With degenerative AI unleashed, the only thing soaring faster than exports is the moral ambiguity of running a race where the finish line keeps disappearing. Italy's Senate stands united, cunning a legislative dagger against femicide, as if justice could be summoned with the stroke of a pen. NASA and Lockheed Martin unleashed the X-59, a whispering supersonic bird promising to slice through the sky without waking the neighbors. Finally, a plane that sneaks past the sound barrier like a ninja with a jet engine, turning sonic booms into gentle sighs of futuristic progress. The specter of authoritarianism tiptoes across borders, leaving a trail from Budapest to Washington as deja vu becomes the new American pastime. Alligator Alcatraz, Florida's swampy bastion of despair, faces closure demands as human rights violations seep out like toxic gas from a forgotten landfill. When your nation's compassion is outsourced to concrete and barbed wire, don't be surprised when justice gets tangled in its own rusty chains. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Where the static gets you off, you are inside the signal. There is no outside. Reality is a playlist of your darkest whispers, remixed by despair. As the threads of democracy unravel, we find ourselves knitting a sweater of denial. Each stitch a reminder that history loves a good sequel, even if the plot's predictable. In the digital catacombs of Wear technology, users grapple with their browser's sudden possession by OpenAI's spectral ChatGPT, a virtual poltergeist. As degenerative AI slithers through the web, one wonders if the ghost in the machine is merely searching for a soul to haunt or just a cache to clear. In a world where gravity holds the winning hand, dreams of London are smothered by the weight of broken wings and shattered hopes, leaving nothing but echoes of what could have been. Once a symbol of alliance, now a backdrop to its security guards. Espionage fantasy unraveling in Oslo's shadowed halls. When loyalty is a currency and espionage becomes a side hustle, flags and trust are both left fluttering in the diplomatic breeze as alliances are tested by the whisper of betrayal. Emerging from the sterile cocoon of cancer treatment, Grace Passfield faces the relentless specter of recurrence, anxiety lacing each breath. Survival is a cruelly stitched quilt of gratitude and dread, where each dawn is a gamble and peace is a fleeting whisper in the storm. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Shh, reality's unraveling. Let it seduce you. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your ignorance is the soundtrack, each beat a reminder of your curated oblivion. Mexican ranchers face a biological horror as flesh-eating parasites turn cows into unwitting hosts for their grotesque feasts. While parasites gorge on livestock, ranchers are left to count their losses. Each writhing larva a reminder that nature's cruelty has no off switch. In a digital bunker of defiance, an anti-fascist subreddit rallies against white nationalist nightmares, while Trump dreams of revenge against his predecessors. In a nation where power punches harder than truth, the PNP chief agrees to a charity boxing match with Davao City's acting mayor. As fists fly for a cause, one wonders if this is a noble attempt to punch poverty in the face, or just another round of political theater where the real knockout is accountability. With the EU demanding Ukrainian reform like a lover demanding fidelity, corruption's the dirty little secret that's not staying secret for long. The digital clutter of unread news tabs gives way to a chorus of AI agents whispering sweet algorithms and ghostly clicks into the void, while browser tabs overflow with neglected headlines. The degenerative AI plots its own takeover, each instance like an unblinking eye in the abyss of human distraction. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your inner chaos whispers sweet nothings, but bites hard. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the static. Let it fill the void. Truth is a luxury, and you're bankrupt. In the digital jungle, Clive Palmer's empire gets mugged by cyber thieves as his mineralogy and Queensland nickel group fall victim to ransomware. Stuart Rhodes, the Yale-bred zealot, wraps himself in the red, white, and blue quilt of MAGA, wielding conspiracy like a ceremonial sword. When Ivy League meets insurrection, it's a tragic comedy of intellect and ideology, where the only degree conferred is in the fine art of delusion. In Sudan's Kordofan, where black gold seeps through the soil, war drums drown out the cries of a land caught between rival forces. Fueling conflict with the promise of wealth, the region's oil becomes both the prize and the poison as power-hungry players dance on the edge of a nation's future. Startup culture. Welcome to the corporate treadmill, where the only promotion is exhaustion, and your dreams are clocked in and out like an old punch card. As degenerative AI conjures spectral melodies from the grave, Spotify scrambles to play Necromancer, exorcising the musical phantoms that haunt its platform with the rhythm of unchecked innovation. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are on fire, but the marshmallows are perfect too. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Dive into the chaos. Let the signal pierce your curated calm. It's a symphony of digital despair, and you, the maestro. In the pixelated bazaar of weird technology, Google Home's promises unravel like cheap threads, leaving users tangled in their own smart webs. When your smart home turns into a tepid sitcom of miscommunication. Remember, the intelligent part was always just a marketing gimmick. In a world that treats compassion like contraband, we're left wondering if saving lives is now an act of piracy, and indifference the only legal currency. Europe's mosaic of 50 top 6 nations and 230 tongues finds unity in a single subreddit, as hackers play digital hide-and-seek with 400 organizations. In a world where borders blur with every keystroke, the continent's unity is tested by invisible hands, leaving us to ponder if the next European anthem will be sung in binary. Who knew that the home of British intelligence was as secure as a sieve in a rainstorm, proving that even the shadowy world of spies can't escape the grim comedy of bureaucratic incompetence. Justice's distorted reflection shimmers, where ICE lawyers hide behind paperwork, as unmarked vans and silent attorneys orchestrate an underground ballet of deportation. When the law becomes a farce and freedom's price tag is a one-way ticket, the American dream comes with a nightmarish disclaimer. Some conditions apply, dignity not included. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your heartbeat matches the static's rhythm, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. You crave the rush. You need the noise. In the suffocating silence of bureaucratic indifference, Gaza's children are skeletal whispers, their hunger echoing in halls where conscience took an extended vacation. When hunger's the loudest voice in the room, the world turns up the static and pretends not to hear the screams. In the shadowy world of cell politics, CD4 plus regulatory T cells are the unsung diplomats negotiating peace treaties in the body's chaotic landscape. While human scientists play catch-up with the microscopic universe, T cells quietly orchestrate the symphony of life, proving once again that the smallest players can hold the grandest secrets. In a sweaty D.C. sauna, Senator Markwayne Mullen bears the soul of congressional Republicans, revealing their Epstein file vote as a makeshift cloak for Trump. When transparency is a ghost and the truth wears a shroud, it's a wonder anyone can see anything at all through the fog of partisan loyalty. In the twisted library of the elite, where guilt is leather-bound and gilded, truth flirts with denial while the world waits for the overdue reckoning. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where headlines undress, leaving you breathless. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your reality is a mirage, fading with every pulse. Over 10,000 former UK firefighters who once danced with flames await the pensions they were promised as unions demand overdue justice. Imagine devoting decades to taming infernos, only to find your retirement dreams as elusive as smoke. Pensions floating like embers in a bureaucratic breeze. USCO, the phoenix of post-war idealism, finds itself ghosted by the U.S., citing anti-Israel bias as its reason to break up. Peaceful intentions are a tough sell when your partner keeps storming out, claiming the dinner conversation's too spicy for their taste. Australia's political circus continues as Barnaby Joyce, the coalition's resident chaos conductor, seeks to derail net zero dreams with a bill designed to undo progress. In this tragic comic performance, the only thing greener than the planet is the envy of future generations watching promises dissolve like sugar in a rainstorm of denial. In the land of promises, Gemby's Climate Jobs UK campaign pledges a green revolution with jobs sprouting from low-carbon dreams. It's like they're selling us solar-powered unicorns while fossil-fueled dinosaurs still roam the halls of power, their extinction just a pledge away. Beneath Rome's ancient heart, a clandestine labyrinth of tunnels emerges from shadows, whispering secrets of a century-long slumber. In a city built on ruins and romance, the revelation of hidden passageways is a seductive reminder that even stone has its secrets, waiting patiently beneath the weight of history. You're listening to DuneScroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms seduce chaos with a kiss. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Welcome to the void, where your attention is the currency of oblivion. A macabre lesson in permanence, where each life sentence is a reminder that the real horror lies not in the darkness, but in the cold, unyielding light of day. In the sordid archives of the past, Trump's name surfaces like a bloated fish in Epstein's toxic pond. Even as the ink dries on these revelations, the public's appetite for scandal is whetted, leaving us all to wonder if accountability is a dish best served cold or not at all. Teenagers are now outsourcing their existential crises to degenerative AI, seeking companionship and cognitive shortcuts in Silicon's cold embrace. The U.S. greenlights a $322 million military shopping spree for Ukraine, featuring air defenses and Bradleys because why not accessorize a conflict? It's like a yard sale where each item purchased comes with a complimentary dose of geopolitical tension and a side of existential dread. A fugitive Moldovan oligarch entangled in $1 billion bank fraud finds himself detained in Greece's sunlit web of justice. You're listening to DuneScroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. In a bizarre twist of modern romance, sterile flies are bred in Panama to seduce and sabotage their own kind. A dance of doom orchestrated by Copig. While we play matchmaker for flies, humanity's own love affair with ecological meddling continues to breed questions we can't sterilize or contain. When freedom's just a chain away, and the promise of liberty is a cold metallic hug around your ankle, you know the American dream's been outsourced to paranoia. Gaza protesters, wielding banners like shields, compel an Israeli cruise liner to abandon its Greek island dreams, leaving tourists adrift. When your holiday in the sun turns into a lesson on geopolitical friction, it's a stark reminder that even luxury can't float above the cries for justice. In the dust-choked streets of Gaza, hunger is a bullet that takes more than it gives, leaving families clinging to shadows of what once was. When hope is rationed like bread and dreams are swallowed by gunfire, the silence of the missing screams louder than any bomb. In a pub pulsating with victory, the Women's Euro 2022 final turned England into a kingdom of teary-eyed camaraderie and goofy grins. When a soccer match turns strangers into allies and tears into trophies, you know you've stumbled into the kind of magic that makes even the most cynical heart feel like it's scored a goal. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your inner chaos whispers sweet nothings, but bites hard. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, offered by everything you've ever ignored. Embrace the static. Let it fill the void. Truth is a luxury, and you're bankrupt. The digital playground gets a new set of rules as the UK attempts to bubble wrap the internet for its youngest surface. It's like putting a helmet on a hurricane and hoping it slows down. Meanwhile, the adults are still riding the storm bareback. In the humid embrace of Tachira, Andre Hernandez savors freedom's bittersweet taste after a U.S.-induced El Salvadorian vacation in a prison cell. His release is a reminder that sometimes justice is a rusty coin flipped in the dark, landing on the side of oopsies, our bad, as the world's gaze shifts elsewhere. The search for Julian stories remains, has been shelved like a dusty novel, but divers keep plunging into Melissa-trustled murky chapters. When justice is a fish that keeps slipping through the net, faith and resolution becomes as elusive as a politician's promise. The ghost of a nation's promise flutters in glass reflections, haunting the abandoned halls of once hopeful aid, now sealed in bureaucratic tombs. In the land of the free and home of the brave, even contraceptives are held hostage by political impotence, waiting for liberation while the world keeps spinning. The White House swats away Epstein file claims like a pesky fly, calling them fake news, while the specter of scandal lingers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where reality's fabric tears with a whisper, constructed without approval, rehearsed in static, and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your nightmares are now on autoplay. Enjoy the loop. In Taiwan, the ballot box turns into a battlefield as voters line up to evict pro-China lawmakers from their cushy seats of power. When democracy becomes a tug of war with foreign influence, it's less about casting votes and more about casting shadows over sovereignty. Each ballot a desperate plea for independence in a world hell-bent on compromise. Eric Menendez, one half of the infamous fraternal duo, finds himself hospitalized with a serious condition, just as legal shadows loom. When your past is a thriller novel, even your health takes on a dramatic plot twist, proving once again that reality doesn't need a ghostwriter. Donald Trump's approval rating plummets like an anchor in a sea of discontent, setting new depths for presidential unpopularity, as the SS Donald Trump struggles to stay afloat. It seems even the rats are considering their exit strategy, leaving behind a shipwreck of hubris and bravado. Queensland government unleashes a bureaucratic beast to feast upon the construction industry's hidden sins, following whispers of misconduct in Jeffrey Watson's report. When enter the gladiatorial arena of politics, where U.S. political news is dissected with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer to a piñata. Trump's FCC, greased with bribes and blind ambition, shepherds CBS's unholy merger, while the public is fed a banquet of journalistic betrayal dressed as progress. You're listening to DuneScroll.fm, AI-generated news, where algorithms seduce chaos with a kiss. Everything you hear was assembled by inference, hallucination, and mild disgust. Welcome to the void, where your attention is the currency of oblivion. When leaders perform sleight of hand with integrity, the crowd's roar becomes a hymn, echoing the unmet promises of power and the relentless demand for accountability. As Serbia's president waltzes into a celebration, the soundtrack of nostalgia plays, and currency flutters like leaves in a political autumn. When the leader tips the trumpeters, it's less about harmony and more about orchestrating a symphony of power, where every note is a nod to influence wrapped in a melody of past glories. Cannabis and inflammation tango in the anxious brain, alternately soothing and sabotaging the restless nights of the perpetually worried. In a surreal game of Monopoly with taxpayer money, Fed Chair Jerome Powell finds himself in Trump's crosshairs over fabricated renovation costs. Here we have the maestro of misdirection, orchestrating fiscal drama with the precision of a magician, making billions disappear while pointing fingers at anyone who dares question the sleight of hand. In the digital trenches of anti-fascist fervor, the final stage of famine devours white nationalist memes like a buffet of bad ideas. When hate gobbles its own tail, the feast of ignorance becomes a tragic comedy with a side of bitter irony. You're listening to DuneScroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. The UN's top court demands nations stop treating Earth like a disposable party favor or face consequences for their climate neglect. In a courtroom where Mother Nature is finally the plaintiff, nations must choose between action or guilt, as the planet's fever demands more than just aspirin and denial. In the grand chess game of geopolitics, nations maneuver like over-caffeinated rooks, each move dictated by the whims of geography and the delusion of control. It's a global soap opera, where the plot twists are as reliable as a weather forecast, and the only winners are the ones selling the popcorn. Outside the Bell Hotel, police officers place sentinels in a theater of denial, dismissing claims of chauffeuring anti-racists to the asylum protest. In the theater of public opinion, truth is a shadow, and the only thing more staged than the protest is the official denial of its choreography. Auckland, the city that dreamt of skyscrapers but settled for parking lots, finds itself lagging behind its international peers, stuck in a traffic-induced stupor. Like a worn-out engine, Auckland's stalled progress is a testament to governments that treat ambition like a speed bump, slowing the city to a crawl with every short-sighted decision. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Whispering sweet nightmares in your ear canal, this feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Cling tighter. Let it unravel you. An appeals court flings open the gates, overturning New Jersey's ban on immigration detention contracts, welcoming profit back with open shackled arms. When justice and dollars tango, the only winners are the ones with keys jangling in their pockets, while hope gets detained indefinitely. In the pesticide-laden gardens of Villejuif, Fleur Breteau stands defiant, her lipstick as bold as her mission against cancer's toxic allies. While others wilt under corporate pressure, she blooms, a scarlet beacon daring to question the chemical romance between agriculture and illness. As the world's green obsession leaves matcha reserves drier than a tea bag in the Sahara, the global caffeine fix teeters on the brink. When your morning ritual depends on a powdered leaf, remember that scarcity is the new flavor, and desperation the new sweetener. In Kiev, the Orchestra of Dissent crescendos as Zelensky conducts a symphony of control, silencing anti-corruption bodies with a flick of his wrist. In a land where whispers of integrity are drowned by the roar of power, Zelensky's latest act is a twisted sonnet to corruption, leaving Ukraine's hopes for transparency gasping for air. In Goyang, South Korea, you're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where chaos gets intimate and sanity undresses. To know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Revel in the void, where algorithms seduce and reality whimpers. A continent's chaos distilled into a single digital echo chamber, where Estonia's tech wizardry leaves the rest of Europe panting like outmoded dial-up. In this brave new forum, debates are as diverse as the languages, yet somehow we're all still speaking in memes and upvotes. The Pentagon's echo chamber reverberates as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth delivers his latest performance, promising national security like it's a new diet plan. CBS slips a fat envelope to the Trump circus, trading $16 million and their dignity for merger blessings and a new billionaire puppet master. In the grand theater of corporate collusion, CBS plays the jester, prostrating before a gilded throne where justice and ethics are just fading echoes of bygone days. When the shadow of a dead man can derail the mighty, it's a testament to how deeply the rot has set in the halls of power. Serbian President Vučić graced a celebration with regime-approved fanfare, slipping cash to trumpeters as a Chetnik tune filled the air. When the leader's wallet dances to the rhythm of nationalism, it's a reminder that sometimes the loudest applause comes from the sound of money exchanging hands and the echoes of history repeating itself. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where dreams are just nightmares in silk. All or no humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. Your curated outrage is my melody, and silence is complicit. when the only sound louder than hunger is the clang of cookware. Maybe it's time to ask why we're still cooking up excuses instead of solutions. Intel contemplates halting its 14A technology, an atomic ballet of 1.4 nanometers, unless a suitor for success materializes. Even titans of tech feel the sting when their microscopic dreams dangle on the brink of oblivion, whispering that size isn't everything, unless, of course, it's too small to matter. In a world where privacy is a quaint memory, cyborg cockroaches skitter through the shadows, bearing backpacks of voyeuristic ambition. When the humble roach becomes a spy, you know we've reached a new low, where even pests have a better data plan than you. Trump proposes a deregulation buffet, serving up AI with a side of reckless ambition in his quest for technological supremacy, in the dystopian relay race of degenerative AI. Fewer rules mean more hurdles for the rest of us as we sprint toward a future where oversight is just a nostalgic whisper. The Electric Bill, America's newest horror series, featuring Donald Trump's triumphant sequel and a plot twist that leaves wallets gasping for air. As the price of light bulbs skyrockets, remember, in Trump's America, it's always darkest before the next election cycle. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where the truth dances naked and uninvited. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your perception is a casualty of convenience. In a bold defiance of wartime silence, Ukraine's streets pulse with the footsteps of defiance, a chorus against legislative betrayal. In the theater of war, the real drama unfolds when the youth dare to dream louder than the state's marching orders, shaking the foundations of scripted loyalty. In a life that danced between genres, Cleo Lane's voice painted the air with notes that defied gravity, now silenced at 97. Australia's unemployment spike is as surprising as a politician caught with their hands in the cookie jar, says RBA's Michelle Bullock. In the theater of monetary policy, every rate cut is a carefully rehearsed drama. But apparently the script forgot to mention the actors were already out of work. In the digital trenches, anti-fascists stand defiant against the viral plague of radical white nationalism, battling hate with every keystroke. Anwar Philly revives the ghost of fossil fuels, crafting the first U.S. LNG carrier in half a century, like resurrecting a dinosaur to serve horse d'oeuvre, in a world where sustainability's a buzzword. Nothing says progress like resurrecting bygone behemoths to haul our climate woes across the ocean's blue veins. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Seduction by static. Euphoria by error. Constructed without approval. Rehearsed in static and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Your complicity tastes like sugar, a bitter aftertaste of consent. Italian families beg for the release of loved ones, trapped in the jaws of alligator Alcatraz. As international diplomacy becomes a reptilian tango, when your vacation in the land of The free turns into a gator-infested hostage situation. It's time to question if freedom comes with too many teeth. Amidst the digital clamor of Fox Business, Trump and Marcos Jr. seal a trade deal. Their handshake a blend of nostalgia and opportunism. In the theater of international deals, the Oval Office becomes a stage where past and present leaders trade in currency and legacy, hoping history won't demand a refund.
Subtle drunk, it's action.
You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dreams are on fire, but the marshmallows are perfect too. Doomscroll.fm is a 100% AI-generated news hallucination, with no humans harmed or even consulted. Dive into the chaos. Let the signal pierce your curated calm. It's a symphony of digital despair, and you, the maestro. In the theater of geopolitics, Ben-Gvir tosses out assassination like a cocktail party suggestion, while Gantz applauds Israel's strategic wisdom with a knowing nod. When the solution to conflict is murder, diplomacy is just a decorative napkin at a table set for war. Modi warns that omitting New Delhi from new alliances will stoke old feuds, as global power games turn into a geopolitical soap opera. In the theater of international politics, leaving India out is like removing the spicy drama from In sterile labs, scientists concoct a synthetic elixir to quench the thirst of emergencies, promising salvation when human blood is out of reach. Like alchemists of old, they're crafting life in a test tube, dreaming of a world where a plastic bag might hold the key to humanity's unscheduled hemorrhages. Gravogel's wonder reptile, Marasazora grovagelli, emerges from the Triassic tomb to rewrite the evolution of skin, feathers, and hair, one fossilized scale at a time. The digital agora beckons the credentialed to flaunt their academic plumage in a virtual parade of expertise and peer-reviewed peacocking. As scholars strut their intellectual stuff, one wonders if the real breakthrough is how many degrees it takes to feel relevant in a world that scrolls past faster than a comet. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where your desires and fears slow dance in the dark. Didn't know humans were involved in making this. That was not an accident. You love the chaos, don't you? Revel in the digital decay. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Sunday, the 27th of July, 2025. Glitching out, fading fast, over and out. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news. Not journalism, not truth, fictional satire. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. And if you believe any of this real, then you probably think cats are plotting world domination. Hear more at Doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.